What's good, my man in society? It is your host with the most shadow. Look back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and are subscribed to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Now, yesterday I was bombarded with a bunch of emails with links to channels I never heard of, right? And clips of videos. And when I mean a lot, I mean a lot. I had about I don't know, like 50 something, emails, regarding the matter by different individuals. Um, Now, normally the YouTube bullshit, right? I don't normally let it get to me, right? But this one kind of left me like a little bit, irritated, sort of, right? See, yesterday I made a video about the homie hangout, Rascal, RIP to him, he had passed away. Many people made videos about the matter, right? And I thought nothing of it, paid my condolences, my respects, because he was a good individual. Um, an individual I actually would conversate, had his number and everything like that, right? So I thought he was a pretty good individual. Um, but it seems, with his passing, people have, took this opportunity to now throw stuff out there, and now you have back and forths, and people accusing people of this and that, right? And all revolving around his name, which I find to be very, very disrespectful. Like the man, just passing. Here we have individuals on YouTube arguing back and forth about, content, rights. Is just ridiculous to me, right? It never ceases to amaze me what people are willing to do, right? But it is what it is, right? Normally I would be like, oh, people, should just let it go, ignore it, and, move on, right? It's not that serious, right? When it comes to, like, let the individuals do what as they do, right? Um, I got sent a clipping, right? Apparently, um, they were like, "What did you think about this?" Right? It was a video by Gunners Collective, right? He had made a video about what exactly happened in the situation with Josh, right? Rascal, which shouldn't have been put out there, right? Because it's nobody's business, right? His kids could potentially be watching, right? So they probably don't know, because I know some of them are small, right? They don't know, probably know the magnitude of the situation, right? So it's not your place to come in and to be doing that, right? But that's not the wild part, though. The wild part was that then it was then the individual decided to speak about something that I guess Rascal had told him in confidence, just between them two, right? And just don't ever say nothing and whatever, right? Uh, he said unless he passed away, but obviously that's in a joke, right? Like, hey, never tell the story, man, and unless I die or something, like, you know what I mean, like in that sense. But pretty much saying, keep this between me and you. My boy couldn't even wait, bro. As soon as he found out the individual passed away, he took it upon himself to hop on it and spill the beans on this topic, right? About an incident that Rascal had with Renegade Media, and he says that he thinks that is connected to that, right? Or a piece of his the reason why he was down and depressed and had problems, right? So he took this opportunity to not only throw a conversation that they had amongst themselves out into the public, but in an attempt to make Renegade Media look bad, kind of like blaming him or painting him in some type of way, because obviously the individual doesn't like the individual. He says that that's not true, but clearly he doesn't like the individual. Ever since the individual passed him in subscribers, he's felt some type of way, because Gunner has always seen himself as the one, the people's champ. So now that when this individual came with more views and more subscribers, it bothered him, right? To the point where even his numbers started jumping drastically as soon as the individual had passed him. This individual's numbers started jumping ahead as well, right? Kind of in a suspicious manner, right? Kind of didn't want to lose his crown as the people's champ, right? It's an ego thing, there's no other way to explain it. But that's the reason why he views him as a threat, because of the individual's growth in his channel. I know people say that they want to see people grow and prosper, but that's not true. They feel like they're taking the spotlight from them, and they don't like it. They like to be the center of attention. So he took that to, throw shots at him, and using his death because people will sympathize because he passed away. That now they would view Renegade Media some type of way because of the individual's passing, right? Like all kind of like sour, the taste, of his channel, right? And maybe deter themselves from watching his channel, which is a sleazy move, right? But nevertheless, it is what it is, right? So the individual ended up taking his video down. I heard, Dubs had made a video and he took it down too. I didn't get a clippings of Dubs, right? So I don't know what was said on that one to take it down, right? Um, but then I got sent a clipping of they did a live, and the clipping was actually from another individual's channel. I think Slugs or something like that, right? Um, so the clipping was from his channel, right? But it was a clipping of Gunner doing a live and talking about how him and he actually that all these people making videos about Rascal, but they didn't know Rascal. Like he knew Rascal, he had his number, and whatnot, right? Trying to, I guess, say that he had a closer bond or that he had the right to speak. All right, I have no idea what he was actually trying to pitch with that, right? But then he goes upon and says that that people shouldn't be throwing stuff out there and that they shouldn't be putting information out there like that, and that to be more respectful, when he himself literally came on and gave the reason of how he passed, and about his the whole Renegade Media fiasco and theory and conspiracy, right? And so to have the audacity to come on here and then say, hey, be respectful, don't put stuff out there like that is just mind blowing. The no shame that this individual has, like the I mean, I know individuals make shady moves and do shady things on YouTube, right? But sometimes this shit just leaves me like scratching my head, like, what the fuck? And it goes back to what I said. He knows that individuals had seen this video, what he had did. He's not trying to convince everybody. He knows he's not going to be able to convince everybody, right? But he just needs to convince the ones that are actually his loyal supporters, right? He just needs to convince them that he's a decent stand-up guy that actually cares about this individual. If he really cared, he wouldn't have threw his stuff out there like that and made allegations and use his death as an opportunity to take shots at somebody and to how can I say, use it as a motive to gain viewership, right? By throwing his business out there, it's fucked up, right? Because he trusted him, and and some individuals are not meant to be trusted. You get what I'm saying? Especially individuals that are hungry and desperate for content. They'll throw and say anything about anybody, bro, as long as it'll bring them the views. They really have no shame, and this proves it. You know, and this is not like how can I say, to try to take shots at the individual or make him look bad, right? It's just the complete and absolute disregard for the respect of the individual, and then the hypocrisy. I mean, we know that there's been hypocrisy on YouTube, right? But this is hypocrisy on a whole nother level, right? um and I guess sometimes supporters can't make the connections, right? But for those that people say, oh, you guys are just hating or are jealous, well, explain that. And what's the reason for him doing that, right? Like, what's that all about? Right? Explain, those actions that he just did, you know, because from some of the videos I had watched about people that talked about, Rascal, right? Like, Nate and, Incredible Javier and Chills and individuals like that, right? There's nothing but respectful, and nobody went into the details like the clippings that I was sent. They're the ones that spilled the beans and were throwing his business out there and were making allegations, as in meaning the individual Gunner. Right? And I just thought that was very disrespectful and very just mind blowing, right? Like, is there a line that's drawn anywhere? Like, is there any type of morals or like high ground? Like, it just seems like there isn't. um you know but to the ones that send me the clippings and stuff like that, that's just the way the individual is, and there's nothing that nobody can do. He's not going to change. He is the way he is. My best advice is to just don't even sweat it, and don't even let it get to you, and don't even pay it so much mind, because the individual is just, he's just like that, bro. He's, call it, whatever, snake or shisty or shady or scandalous. That's his persona, bro. And that's, it's not gonna change. You know what I mean? And he's gonna keep, saying that people are jealous and hating and lying on him, and that he's just a good man that's trying to be there for his kids, and blah 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 blah, right? To gain the sympathy, when in true reality his actions are, completely say different, right? This is just how some individuals are in this world, and we just can't stress over it. Yeah, so I feel like people shouldn't be using the death of somebody as a means to, now, create some type of feud, or knock some points on down on somebody. Have some respect for the individual, his family, his loved ones, his kids. Come on now, you know. Um, for once, show some humanity and decency in individuals. It's crazy. That's just my thoughts.